Hey guys, Pieguyrulz here, and what time is it? It's time for some more Adventure Time Catch-Up Season 5. Um, so let's review some more Season 5 episodes. I'm also going to be doing something fun with this video. See if you can tell what it is. Shhh. Which is an episode where Finn and Jake decide to just not talk for a day, or, as long as they can. And BMO's all like, whoa, you can't talk, so you must be Finn and Jake imposters. Impostures. They have bad posture. But yeah, it's a silly plot. And that's what I like about it. Kind of like Up a Tree, although I wasn't really a fan of Up a Tree. I like that the plot is really kind of constructed from Finn and Jake's imagination and just wanting to have fun. There really isn't anything at stake here. Finn and Jake are just being quiet for fun. And they do a lot with the medium. They do a lot of good visual humor. They do, they have great soundtrack cues and stuff to kind of help the silence along. There's a song in there that BMO plays. And the cards, of course, they both have the funny cards that like are either really convenient or really inconvenient depending on what the joke is. Sometimes they'll have a card that's very specific to what the other person says, and sometimes they'll have a card that makes no sense but they don't have anything better, which I like, which is funny and sweet. And I like how all of Finn's cards are like complimenting Jake, and Jake made cards like very specifically for conversation, like asking how the food is. There's a lot of nice little touches in this episode. They don't leave the treehouse. It's almost a bottle episode. We see the outside a little bit, but it's like the episode is kind of contained in the one place. And even specifically, we get to see kind of between the walls, and they do a lot of interesting things with that, with these little creatures that, again, remind me of Up a Tree. The episode kind of calls back to that a little bit, in how Finn kind of wanted to make the challenge for himself. And even for the fact that there is, like, no stakes, the stakes are the person will be disappointed if they lose, which I like that. That's also sweet and kind of realistic, too, if you have a challenge with your friends. There is actually the threat of the Bikini Babes that come in and beat up Finn and Jake, which are really random. I like how it's just like, oh, hey, yeah, BMO invited these Bikini Babes over to dance with. Duh, that's what he does on Tuesdays. It's a silly episode. There's nothing really that crazy about it. It's kind of a concept in that Finn and Jake are quiet, but it's not like they're silent the entire episode. They do talk in it, a little bit, and BMO talks, and the Bikini Babes talk. So it's not like it's a silent cartoon or anything like that. So yeah, it's just a very low key episode. What else do I have? Oh, they used cartridges of video games to get BMO out of hiding. Man, okay. Cartridges and, like, old video game stuff smell really good. Might be the dust, and I might be crazy, but I think they do. I love the smell of an N64 controller or cartridge. Maybe I've said too much. Anyway, the wall creatures, yeah, they're very weird. They almost don't look like they're animated in the same style as, like, the rest of the Adventure Time. They have a weird style to them, like the spider and the mice and stuff. Not bad, just different. They stand out, certainly. And the party god makes a random cameo at the end. It makes sense because there's a party going on, and the party god goes where the party is. So, party. I don't like this episode, and you won't hear me say that too often about Adventure Time episodes, but it's really true. I just don't like this episode. I don't think it's particularly good. Do I think it's, like, terrible? No. I mean, I can get through it. It's not like I wanted to shut it off or anything like that. I wanted to see it through to the end, but really, no. I don't know. I don't think this episode worked. We see a lot of this in Season 5, this whole giving the spotlight to a random candy citizen. Try saying that 5 times fast. Random candy citizen. We see the spotlight being given to them, and it's never been the most successful formula for an episode, but especially when it's a character that we've never met before, and especially when they're as bland as Bracco. He just doesn't, I don't know, as a protagonist, he just doesn't make me feel anything, and I get that that's kind of the point, that he's just one note designed to be Princess Bubblegum's suitor, but, I mean, Princess Bubblegum doesn't even care about her love life, so why should I, right? And it just, I don't know, the entire episode feels very flat. It's hard with these romantic episodes. It's hard to make them work, and when it's Finn, it's a little different because at least you care about Finn. When it's this random candy citizen we've never met before, he's just like, all right, whatever. And there's nothing really funny about this episode. There's nothing really that interesting. Finn and Jake hardly appear. Princess Bubblegum isn't even in it that much. The only thing cool is that we get to see Peppermint Butler summoning a Dark Lord, and it's cool and it's funny. That's cool that they have that just as the background thing. Like, you know, Peppermint Butler will never be the big bad or anything like that, but he'll just be committing random demonic things in the background. Why not, right? I mean, the Gumball Guardian isn't too concerned. So yeah, I don't think anything in this episode really worked. What did I put down for my notes? Oh yeah, there's a reference to JT Dog Zone, his book on how to peacock for the women's. And at the end, there's a Brocco Don't Go song over the credits for some reason. I think it was supposed to be in the episode and it didn't quite make the cut. No, yeah, Brocco, you can full well go away. You know, there are some episodes that feel satisfyingly long, like Pahoy. Like, it didn't feel like 11 minutes. It felt like maybe like a half hour, but in the best possible way. This episode feels really short, and not in the way that I want to see more. It feels just like, wow, okay, there's 11 minutes of my life that are just gone. And again, I don't mean to be too harsh on it, because it is still enjoyable, but I mean, would I ever want to watch it again, particularly? Nah. If I'm watching through the series, I'll probably watch it. But if I'm picking around my favorite episodes, oh, yeah, this one's going to be skipped. I would probably have to say this is one of, if not my least favorite episode of Adventure Time. Certainly, in my opinion, one of the worst of Season 5, if not the worst. So, yeah, one of the worst episodes ever of Adventure Time. You can tell I didn't like it. The party's over. Is Isla de Señorita. I'm not good at the languages. This episode is actually really awesome. I really like it. I think what this episode really does is for probably one of the first times, maybe not the first time, but it's one of the strongest cases of sympathy for the Ice King. Not for Simon, not for the person the Ice King used to be, for the actual Ice King. Like, I don't know, he just kind of comes off as really sad in this episode. Just at how he thinks he has something with Princess Bubblegum. Like, he's clearly demented. He has issues. And it's actually really nice to see him talk to someone with similar, although kind of different, issues. And he never really tries to make a pass at the island. He just kind of wants to be her friend, and he is. And so the story is, like, really sweet. It's really cool. There's some good action. The Ice King versus the Party God. We get to see the Party God again, a returning character. We just saw him in Shhh. So it's cool to see him back again. It's cool to see him... Drop my phone. It's cool to see him in another sense as opposed to just, like, random cameo. He actually has a point here. And it actually even makes sense that he would be a terrible boyfriend. You know, that's how those partiers are, man. They always want to have girlfriends for some reason, yet they party it up with everyone. But anyway, so there's the action, there's the romance, there's the sympathy for the Ice King. I think an episode like this works, especially because we care about the Ice King. The Ice King is charming in his really pathetic way, and he's interesting to watch. And the episode's funny, too. There's some good gags with the Ice King using animals to, like, cut something, and then when he washes ashore, he spits out a crab. Like, funny jokes. You know, there's some good humor here. And the design on the island, she looks really cool. Like, with the trees for her bathing suit, and her hair is like seaweed or something in the water. Design-wise, it's great, and just concept-wise, it's really visually interesting. What an unusual design for your character. What an unusual thing for your character to just be an island. Which is kind of funny, because she's an island that has a boyfriend. So she is not an island. Yeah, just a good episode. it's another one, and I feel like I'm saying this a lot lately, but there's nothing like really crazy about it. There's nothing really off the wall here, but it's a quieter Adventure Time episode, but it has literally everything you'd ever want in it. It's got the comedy, it's got the action, it's got the romance, it's got sympathetic Ice King. What more could you need? You know, it's got Ice King being goofy Ice King, and I think that's great. I think we haven't actually had too much character development on the Ice King himself. You know, most of his character development comes from the fact that he used to be someone else, but now he's the Ice King. The Ice King isn't Simon. The Ice King used to be Simon. And we have seen like a little bit of character progression with him capturing princesses less and less and focusing more on his friends Finn and Jake and his longtime GF Princess Bubblegum. But here it feels like real character development, and even though it's the Ice King, so of course he goes back on everything he says, it still feels like there's something there. It still feels like we're seeing a side of this character that we haven't seen before. We haven't seen him be an actual friend. I mean, maybe to Finn and Jake in a friend sense, but you know, it's cool to see him interact with the character in a way we haven't seen before. I hope this gag was worth it, because I cut myself trying to shave the right parts to make it look funny, and I bled for comedy. Anyway, this episode is another awesome one. I believe this is the first time that a member of one of Jake's kids had a starring role in an episode. We still haven't really seen much of them. We saw a little bit of them at Tree Trunks' wedding, and I think we see another TV in another episode or something at Home with Lady Rainicorn. But we really don't see much of them after Jake the Dad, and we get to see not too much, but you know, enough of Jake Jr. in this episode. And of course, it's a parody or reference or whatever you want to call it to elaborate heist movies where they got to break into the big vault and steal the gem and get out in time and everything. And of course, there's the unexpected twist, this time being that his gang has double-crossed him, and then the other twist that his daughter is actually leading the gang or a part of the gang or whatever. And it's cool. It all works. They've got the parody down. I like how when Jake walks in the room, he turns on the light and says, "You guys have been sitting here in the dark?" You know, because that's like something they do in movies, have a dramatic reveal like that. But yeah, logistically, were you guys just sitting in the dark? That's stupid. You know, they got the whole, like, every member of the crew has a talent and everything. All the designs and like, character traits of all of Jake's old crew are really cool. Like, they're all visually interesting. They're all unique and just really cool. I like that the final vault is kind of shown from one perspective, panning. Oh, the cops must be the banana guards. But it scrolls like a video game or something, and really this is like one of the few times we get to see Jake be really awesome on his own. We don't get to see it too often. I mean, we don't get to see him be awesome like really too often either. I mean, the thing about Jake is that he's like not particularly motivated a lot of the time, or when he is, he's motivated about as much as, you know, as lets him keep on level with Finn. But I mean, thanks to his stretching powers, he could, technically speaking, like, do a lot more than Finn ever could hope to with the sword. But he's just not particularly motivated, or maybe just doesn't have the energy. But in this episode, because it's his daughter on the line, you really see him go crazy here. You know, you see him just, like, be super determined to get the crystal, and then once he finds out his gang has betrayed him, he goes bananas on them. Like, the chase scene is awesome. So yeah, it's got action down. It's a really cool episode for Jake. It's cool that we get to see his daughter again. There's the twists, of course, and they might be slightly predictable, but it wouldn't be an elaborate heist if there wasn't the crazy twists or something in the plan going awry, right? So it kind of had to be there like that. And there's even some pretty funny lines, like Tiffany. Okay, Tiffany in general is really funny just because his voice is that of like a little girl, like and so everything he says is just really silly. Let's see. They splash a banana guard with banana milk, and he's like, "Oh, the forbidden flavor! It tastes so good," because it's like banana cannibalism, bananabalism, as it were. Oh, and I should mention that, you know, Jake Jr. is Mabel from Gravity Falls, I think. sounds exactly like her, so I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, it's her. And I feel like people would be mad if I didn't say that. So yeah, just another really good episode. I like it because it's got a style. It's perfectly parodying a style, but it also stands pretty well on its own right, and it's just got everything right in the right places. Good episode. Another 5 more Graybles. Kind of odd that they would do 2 Grayble episodes in the same season, right? Like, they're interesting kinds of episodes, but you really don't want to have too many of them. And it's cool that they're making it a recurring thing, but yeah, I would probably regulate it to maybe 1 a season, if that. Or heck, maybe it's just going to be a trilogy and we'll never see it again. I'd like to see another style story like this. Maybe, you know, once a season. But yeah, this one, they definitely do mix it up because they're aware that, I don't know, they're aware that they've already kind of gone to the Graybles this season. And they have the cameraman not want to listen to some Graybles, rather watch a birdhouse. And then, I mean, the whole setup is kind of cute, how they got to see a birdhouse, and the birdhouse is in the background, and by the time you get back to the birdhouse, you've already forgotten that that's why we're watching the Graybles in the first place. It's also interesting that he doesn't say what the theme of the Graybles are. If you haven't figured it out, and I'll admit I just looked it up, or I was already on the wiki page, so I saw it before I rewatched this episode, so I already knew. The theme is the stages of grief, is that there's denial and acceptance and bargaining. Well, I think acceptance is at the end, but bargaining and grief and all those other things. They're all said in the episode, except for, I think, the first step. But yeah, they're all said in the episode, and the themes are all there. There's also a running theme of, like, child raising, or, like, I don't know. Like, there's... the stories are... Finn and Jake Jr.'s story. For some reason, the writers really like Jake Jr. and hate all the rest of Jake's kids, because Jake Jr. is here again, and we've seen way more of her than we've seen of, like, any of his other kids. So yeah, that story's cute. I like it. I like how the transitions are between stories, of how it's usually like someone will say a line and then the next character will also say the same line, you know, in the different story, or like a similar line to it or something like that. Nice transitional tools between the Graybles, or between the stories. Are they individual? Yeah, the Graybles. Or is, like, the one thing a big Grayble? No, they're each individual Graybles, because they're 5 short Graybles. Anyway, the cinnamon bun looking for a nightlight thing, that wasn't even really much of a story, just kind of him running around crazy. Entertaining, I guess. Kind of cute foreshadowing about him being in a burning building. What are the stories? The Ice King story, cute, but really doesn't mean much. I mean, I guess... the Lemon Grab story kind of progresses things, because it shows Lemon Grab eating Lemon Grab 2, which is very relevant, and again, foreshadowing, like, that comes back in a major way. Also, them wanting to have kids, I guess that's kind of their plan with the little doll. They want more lemon creatures. That's something that will definitely be followed up on. So theirs is kind of the most interesting, in that it ties into things. Story. Then there's the Fox's story, which I don't understand at all. I mean, he gives all this exposition as if he's on, like, extreme, you know, home makeover, or, like, you know, show my house. He's like he's on an HGTV show where he's like, this is my bed, isn't it cozy and warm? Like, I don't understand what the point of it was. And then, like, his spirit comes alive and writes him a treasure map. I don't know. That is just that one felt random for the sake of random, and not clever or interesting or good in any way, shape, or form. So all in all, I would have to say I'm not the hugest fan of the Graybles. I think there are some clever things, but I don't know. Half the stories are too short, and the Fox's story just wasn't interesting, and I don't know. It just... And then we stayed with the host guy for a little bit too long at the beginning. The setup was cool, but because of that, we don't get to see him at the end. He doesn't get to actually tell us what the Graybles theme is, which I guess would be frustrating if the internet didn't exist, so never mind. But it's weird that it's all front-loaded like that. We do see him again towards the end. But because of that, I feel like you had less time with the stories themselves, and with 11 minutes to have 5 short stories and an introduction, you're pushing it, guys. You're really pushing it. But it's still a cute idea, and if you limit it to 1 a season, I can't really complain. I like the different forms of storytelling that they do. So again, a neat little experiment. I'm sure some people like it a lot more than I do, but hey, it's all right. So yeah, I've covered 5 episodes, 5 Graybles, if you will. No, let's not. And that's about it for this time. Next time, I'll cover a few more. Pieguyrulz.